My name is Andrew. I am 24, and I work as software developer in a small tech company just outside the city. I've been friends with Mike since college, and we stayed close ever since. This story is about an unexpected day that changed things for me and his family forever. Mike and I have been friends for years, but I've always noticed his mom, Jenna. She has got this warmth and energy that is just captivating. Every time I visit, we end up chatting sometimes even more than I chat with Mike. She easygoing, laughs at my jokes, and, well, she beautiful. There was something magnetic about her that I couldn't ignore. So with a free day on my hands, I decided to surprise Mike with a visit. I didn't think too much about it, just grabbed my keys and drove over without giving him a call. I figured it to be a fun, spontaneous catch-up. When I arrived, though, it turned out Mike wasn't home, but Jenna answered the door, looking a little surprised to see me there. She greeted me with her usual warmth, laughing softly as she welcomed me inside. "Andrew, this is a surprise," she said with that easy smile. "Mike didn't mention you were coming." I rubbed the back of my neck, smiling. "I thought I'd surprise him." She laughed, stepping aside. "Well, he is out, but you're welcome to stay until he is back." Just then, a heavy rainstorm hit, pouring down suddenly, making the idea of heading home pretty unlikely. Jenna glanced out the window, raising an eyebrow as she turned back to me. "You're definitely not going anywhere in this weather," she said, with her smile widening. "Looks like you'll have to stay a bit longer." I nodded, secretly glad for the excuse to stick around. She led me to the living room, where we settled in, the sound of the rain adding a quiet, intimate backdrop. As we sat talking, I couldn't help but appreciate her presence more and more. Jenna offered me a warm cup of coffee as the rain drummed steadily outside. Sitting together in the cozy living room, we started chatting about work, life, and a bit about Mike, too. Her laughter filled the room, soft and inviting, making me feel right at home. Every so often our eyes would meet, lingering a little longer than usual, and I felt that subtle spark between us. As we talked, she leaned back in her chair, casually crossing her legs, and I couldn't help but notice her elegant, confident posture. She was 45, yes, but there was something timeless about her. Her energy, her smile, it all seemed so youthful, and I was captivating. I tried to hide it, but I think she might have noticed, because her eyes twinkled with amusement whenever I glanced her way. "So, Andrew," she said with a smirk, breaking into my thoughts. "You seem awfully quiet tonight. Is something on your mind?" Caught off guard, I stumbled for a response, chuckling nervously. "I guess I just didn't expect to be here like this. Just us." She tilted her head, her gaze warm and teasing. "Well, it is a nice surprise," she replied softly. "Mike's not around much these days, and it is good to have some company." Her words were casual, but there was an underkeying warmth to them that made my pulse quicken. We kept talking, and eventually the conversation drifted to more personal topics. She shared stories from when she was younger, dreams she once had, and how her life had taken different turns. I found myself drawn in, hanging on her every word. As the hours passed, the storm outside grew fiercer, with no signs of lightening up. Jenna glanced at the clock, then back at me with a soft, thoughtful smile. "Looks like the weather won't be clearing up anytime soon." "Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to make it home tonight." She nodded knowingly, her voice gentle. "Well, you are welcome to stay here if you'd like. Mike's room is just down the hall." I smiled, grateful, but aware of the thrill bubbling beneath the surface. "Thanks, Jenna." She disappeared for a moment and returned with some extra blankets, placing them on the couch. Our hands brushed as she handed them over, and I felt a sudden rush, a warmth spreading through me that made me glance up at her. She held my gaze, her expression soft and inviting, and for a moment the world outside disappeared. "You know," she said softly, almost whispering, "I always thought you were a charming young man, and now that you are here, it has been really nice talking, just the two of us." "I feel the same way, Jenna." She looked at me, her eyes searching mine, and then slowly she leaned closer. I felt her warm, soft perfume in the air, and I knew that this moment was something I'd never forget. Then, without breaking a contact, she reached over and brushed a loose strand of hair from my forehead, her fingers lingering just a bit longer than they needed to. "Andrew," she murmured, "you were really something." Moving closer, I reached out and gently took her hand in mine. Her skin was soft and warm, and she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned in, her lips parting slightly, as if inviting me to come closer. With my heart racing, I leaned forward and brushed my lips against hers, testing the waters. She responded, her kiss tender and warm. We paused for a moment, and when our eyes met, there was no hesitation left between us. I wrapped my arm around her, drawing her closer as our kiss deepened filed with passion. Her touch sent a thrill through me, and I couldn't help but let my fingers trace the curve of her waist, feeling her warmth. "You know," she whispered, "I never thought. I guess we both knowing where this is going." "I'm glad it is." She leaned back into the couch, drawing me with her, and I wrapped my hands around her. Her fingers traced soft patterns along my back, each touch sparking the warmth between us. Our lips met again, and this time, the kiss was deeper. Her fingers slipped down my arms, then she looked at me with that same soft warmth in her eyes. She sighed, softly arching, just enough for my hand to find the curve of her waist. Encouraged by the way she responded, I let my hand travel slowly, tracing the outline of her back, feeling the warmth as my fingers brushed her side. She let out a quiet, inviting murmur, her hand coming to rest on my shoulder, pulling me even closer. I pressed her chest slowly, and slowly had tried to put my hands inside her sweater, and it was so good, and I can hold myself to do more with her. I leaned in again, my lips pressing gently against hers, deeper this time. My hand found her hip, and I could feel her pulse quicken beneath my touch. She looked at me, her eyes warm, full of something neither of us could put into words. Then she leaned back against the couch, taking my hand in hers. I could see her cheeks flushed with warmth. She ignited a spark of desire in me. "Maybe we should move this somewhere more comfortable," she suggested. Then she led me down toward her bedroom. The door creaked open, revealing a space that felt intimate and inviting. The room was adorned with elegant furnishings, but it was her presence that made it come alive. As the door clicked shut behind us, the sound resonated in the silence, amplifying the moment. With a gentle tug, I pulled her closer, my other hand brushing against her waist, feeling the softness of her figure against me. The kiss deepened, becoming more urgent as I pulled her against me. As I broke the kiss, I looked into her eyes, seeing the reflection of the heat and passion that had ignited between us. "Are you sure about this?" I whispered. Her answer came in a form of a soft smile. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied. With that affirmation, I leaned down, guiding her onto the bed. I took my time, letting my lips trail along her neck, kissing softly along her collarbone. Her fingers danced along my back. I leaned in closer, my hand brushing against her thigh. As the rain continued to drum against the window, I lost myself in her. Our bodies moved together, lost in the rhythm of passion, each moment pulling us closer together. I've never imagined a night could unfold like this. I laid beside her, my arm draped protectively around her shoulders. I felt her fingers play lightly against my chest, and I leaned down, kissing her forehead softly, relishing the warmth of her body against mine. "Tonight was incredible," I murmured, my heart swelling with emotions I couldn't quite name. She turned to meet my gaze, a soft smile gracing her lips. "It really was," she replied, her eyes sparkling with satisfaction. "I think I can get used to this." The rain outside began to lighten. I knew then that this was just the beginning of something special, a story woven with threads of desire, friendship, and newfound love. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, the sudden sharp ring of the doorbell jolted me awake. I froze, my heart racing as I glanced at her, a mix of surprise and panic in her eyes. Her son, my friend, was home. We quickly scrambled to straighten ourselves, but the frantic rustling of sheets and clothing only added to the chaos. The doorbell rang again. "Quick, hide," she urged. I glanced around the room, desperately searching for a place to hide. I dove into the closet, pressing myself against the wall. "Mom, are you home?" my friend called out. She opened the door to the living room. Yes, I am here. I could see her through the crack in the closet door, standing tall, her expression betraying nothing. Did you get caught in the storm? He asked, stepping inside. Just a little shower, she replied, a hint of nervousness creeping into her tone. But I am fine. How was your day? I was good. I was hoping we could hang out. I brought some snacks from the store. Of course, just give me a moment, she said, glancing back to the bedroom door as if she could sense my presence. I held my breath, waiting for what would come next. Would she invite him in? Would he felt something amiss? All right, I'll be right there, she said, turning away from the door and heading back to me. I could see the resolve in her eyes. Quick, get dressed, she whispered urgently, her heart racing as much as mine. I quickly pulled on my clothes, trying to quiet my racing thoughts. I could hear my friend moving around in the living room. Do you think he knows? I asked quietly, panic creeping into my voice. No, he can tee, she replied, biting her lip. Her expression a mixture of excitement and fear. Just act normal, we'll figure this out. With one last glance at each other, we raced ourselves for the return to reality. I stepped out of the closet and followed her in the living room, just as my friend turned back toward us. A big grin on his face. There you are. I was starting to think you were hiding from me. He laughed, completely unaware of the charged energy lingering in the air. Just getting a few things organized, she replied smoothly, shooting me a glance that said everything. As we settled into the evening, laughter filled the room, masking the undercurrent of tension and unspoken words between us. My heart was still racing, the memory of our passion lingering in the back of my mind. It was a delicate balance between friendship and newfound feelings, but in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the connection and the thrill of what had just happened, I knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of a complicated, beautiful story that neither of us could have anticipated.